So investing in your cyber program is a tough question because people are challenged with do we know it's working in the first place? So then the question comes on, how do I know I can continue to invest in a program? I think what is first and foremost is understanding the difference between effectiveness and efficiency. A lot of the people are trying to deal with these programs based on a volume of information or a volume of vulnerabilities or threats. But being able to target the right ones first helps you identify and build out models that are effective, because I'll guarantee you, if you can prove that what you're doing is doing the right things, then you're going to get more investment. So how do you find the right things? I think that's the challenge that this question is really about. Bill?
Yeah, the right things, definitely. It's got to be around higher fidelity data that is applicable and relevant to your organization, to your footprint, your digital footprint, or your technology stack. And you really need a way that you can cut through the noise or the weeds. When we talk about the number of risks, threats, or vulnerabilities, that number is never going to reduce. It's only going to continue to increase as we become a more digital world. And the reality of today's security practitioners are that they're a strapped team and they can't handle all of the noise of the alerts. So definitely the way to justify investing in your cyber programs is, in my eyes, would be to make sure that you're looking for ways, technologies, products, team members that are going to help reduce the noise, make the intelligence or data actionable, and help drive an outcome rather than an overwhelming sense of whack-a-mole with alerts.
Yeah, I think it's important too. So rather than address all, you're trying to address the right things. But you need to justify, or you need to keep a record of decision about why you are not addressing these other things. So it isn't that you can just focus on the right things and not address all things. I think that what you need to do then is you need to explain why you're not addressing those other things with a justifiable reason. They're either the threat is not viable or real in your environment, because a threat is either applicable or not. And in your business to business, it changes whether it applies or not. So if you can prove that it was a threat that applies in your business and talk about the probability or the likelihood of this thing being realized, now you can start to take the appropriate measures. And that's why I'm saying, if you can build trust and focus on the right things, the leadership, the management will see the impact of focusing in with the right models. And again, the thing about a model, and I'm talking about an operational model or a strategy, is if you can get it to work for the most important things, you can get everybody to take the leap of faith that it will scale outward to handle volume, and more it's the appropriate volume on the things. So again, I've always maintained that it's about having the appropriate level of management on the vulnerabilities, and the trick then is what is appropriate.
Yeah, that to me, you need correlation, right? You need to say, what are my assets? And you need to be comparing that against what are the threats or risks external to my organization, and where do those converge? And that ultimately, you also need to understand the level of risk posed by the external factor. But if it's converging on an asset, an owned asset, then that's where you're going to be prioritizing. That's why it should justify kind of an escalation in priority.
And if you're tuned into some form of threat intelligence, what you can do is you can take a measurement. So before you applied your model, all right, the threat landscape was like this, and you exercise your model, execute your response, and then you again take another pulse check. You really should be able to determine that I've made an impact, because it should be a measurable difference, because you can test to see whether your responses are correct.
So we do that all the time, where we specifically, we're looking for mean time to detection, mean time to resolution. And obviously, if you're looking at a technology, a new process, then you want to have your starting point, you want your finishing point, you want to see that delta. And that'll ideally point you to the direction of the outcomes that you want. Or you need to move on and assess a different process or solution.
Exactly. And I think, Bill, you've identified the king metric, and that is mean time to, pick a word, containment, respond, remediate, configure. There is a mean time, and we want to shorten that interval. And that is how you can prove that it's a right time to invest and keep on investing.
And that will scale up your workforce, your your efficiency, as we started out talking about efficiencies today, and ideally let you as an individual tackle other challenges that might be more important or things that you weren't able to get to previously.